Isn't it great when a passion becomes a profession? Today we're going to talk about one person who had a passion for something that ended up becoming a profession and a company. That's coming up on this episode of the SoloProneur Spirit. When I was initially coming up with the idea for SoloProneur Spirit, one of the things I wanted to do was bring you each and every week a video about an individual who had a passion and turn that into a profession or a company, something along those lines. I was really excited about doing that, and I even put one together as a test. And then I realized just how much work that was. So you won't be getting one each and every week, but I will be bringing it to you from time to time, and today I'm going to be bringing you the first of those. Now, who was this amazing man who was able to take his passion and turn it into a company? Well, his name was... No, I'm not going to tell you. You see, I'm a big fan of Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. If you're not familiar with Paul Harvey and the rest of the story, Google it. It's just amazing listening to that man tell the story. And I wanted to kind of honor that by doing my own version of it with this. So I hope you enjoy this video about someone who turned a passion into a profession. It's always great when passion becomes profession. And such was the case with Tom. You see, Tom had an audacious idea, but it turned out not to be nearly as audacious as the final result. Born in England, Tom and his family moved to the U.S. in upstate New York when he was still a kid. Now, Tom was a man of deep faith and moral conviction. While still in his teens, he played a role in the Underground Railroad, helping escaped slaves make their way to nearby Canada. By 19, he had graduated seminary and became a pastor. He preached passionately for many years until he developed problems with his voice. But that led him to med school, where he became a doctor, but then quickly transitioned into dentistry. Now, as a dentist, Tom first moved to Minnesota for a spell before relocating to South Jersey, to a new town in which his sister had become a resident, a town founded on temperance. You see, Tom was a passionate prohibitionist. His faith and moral convictions were firmly against drinking alcohol, and he often lobbied for prohibition. While in South Jersey, Tom began serving in his church once again, but this time as a communion steward. It was his job to prepare the bread and wine used in the sacrament. And much like Tom, his faith community was opposed to alcohol and required that the communion wine be unfermented. That was a challenge. Keeping grape juice from fermenting in the absence of refrigeration units was difficult. But Tom had an idea. Leaning on his scientific background from his med school days and his dental practice, Tom began experimenting with methods of using pasteurization on the juice of the grape to stop the fermentation process. Ultimately, he was successful in this audacious endeavor. So he began making larger batches and persuading other local congregations to use his unfermented wine. But Tom didn't really picture anything beyond that pursuit. Instead, he focused more time on becoming a passionate prohibition crusader. But Tom's son Charles had followed in his footsteps, both as a dentist and as a believer in the unfermented wine. When Tom and Charles formed a dental supply company in Philadelphia, Charles used the platform to promote the unfermented wine, which Tom and Charles sold as a sideline to the business. But you see, with the temperance and prohibition movement growing, so did sales of the unfermented wine. And because of that, a new company was created by Charles and his father, Thomas Bramwell Welch, which you now know as the Welch's Grape Juice Company. It's always great when a passion can become a profession. So did you know that story about Thomas Welch? If you did, chances are you're Methodist, because I know a lot of Methodist ministers like to reference that story in their sermons. But it was kind of cool that he was able to take something he was passionate about and turn it into a profession. Now, I know he really didn't get to enjoy it very long. He never really got to see the full success of the company. But the fact is, he still put together something that was a lasting legacy. I mean, Welch's grape juice is still out there today, right? He was able to turn that into something amazing. You can do the same thing. Now, next week, we're going to talk about actually doing that. Last episode, we talked about getting and figuring out your passions. Next week, we're going to dive into how you can start to look for business opportunities with those. Now, don't forget, I'd love it if you would subscribe or review wherever you found this podcast. Let me know what you're thinking. And also, if you've got a good suggestion for somebody else that we could feature on a future story about someone turning their passion into a profession, I would love to hear it. Now, you can find all the ways to watch or listen to us over on our website at gosolopro.com/SSP. That's it for this episode of SoloProneur Spirit. Hey guys, have a great day.